Former Eagle LeSean McCoy wants Philadelphia to ditch Miles Sanders for Josh Jacobs. Walter Payton Man of the Year award might go to Brandon Graham. And Philadelphia's top 10 draft pick is now in the top 5 thanks to Tom Brady and the Bucs last night. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome to the Thomas Mott Show on a Tuesday. Hopefully you guys are doing great. We got plenty of great stuff coming up here on the show today, including, of course, Philadelphia, as well as the National Football League as well. But I do want to mention a little preview teaser for tomorrow. Sal Paolantonio coming on the show on Wednesday. Talking to him this afternoon. Going to pre-record it and then have it for you guys tomorrow. Great ESPN reporter, mostly associated with Philadelphia. Very excited to have Sal Pal on the show. So, of course, stay tuned for that. Be sure to subscribe, as you guys hopefully will enjoy that interview. All right, let's jump into this great article from the Liberty Line. Really great website here from my boy Victor Williams, talking about this whole idea that LeSean McCoy thinks the Eagles should get rid of Miles Sanders and go ahead and pursue a different running back this offseason. Now, you're probably saying, Thomas, why are we talking about this right now, right? I mean, Sanders is going to be a 1,000-yard back. He's been fantastic this year. Philadelphia is in the heat of trying to get a number one seed, heat of a playoff battle, Super Bowl run. Why are we talking about free agents in 2023? Well, it's because LeSean McCoy brought it up a couple days ago, and we got to at least acknowledge this. I got enough tweets on my Twitter handle, @RealThomasMott, asking me this question, so we'll answer it. And honestly, little preview here, show you how ridiculous this is, because free agent talk is just too early to be doing that. But here's the article. We'll start here and then get into our national story of the day, which is the top 10 in the draft. So as you see, the headline, LeSean McCoy thinks Eagles should let Miles Sanders walk, pursue a different free agent next offseason. And it's a really good rundown here from Victor Williams of Liberty Line. Quote, Sanders 25 is in the final year of his rookie deal and has posted career highs across the board thus far in the season. He has over 900 yards, over 5 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns. We forget that last year he had 0, 8 this year, 26 rushing yards over 10, 26 rushes over 10 plus yards, that's third in the NFL. And so far, knock on wood, the injury woes have been pretty darn good. Now, what's interesting too is that if they choose to not extend him, he will be a free agent, obviously, in 2023, along with a bunch of other running backs. As it stands right now, Jacobs, Barkley, Pollard, Jamal Williams, Jeff Wilson, Devin Singletary, David Montgomery, Penny, Hunt, Damian Harris, a lot of young running backs, none of which are over the age of 27, who Philadelphia could go ahead and grab. Now, Josh Jacobs, much like Sanders in a contract year, trying to go ahead and get a new deal, didn't get one this past offseason. He is having a career year, and that got the attention of former Eagles running back LeSean McCoy, who was on Speak on FS1, one of their new afternoon TV shows, and he said, quote, Philadelphia, we gotta get Josh Jacobs, as he, of course, remains a very much Eagle homer, which is great because he did go play for other football teams. And he says here, according to Liberty Line, Jacobs coming off a dynamic 229-yard performance against Seattle, where he clinched a win in his 86-yard walk-off TD in overtime. Trade rumors swirled about Jacobs last offseason when Las Vegas declined his fifth-year option. The Raiders never looked to deal Jacobs, however, and now he's an NFL's leading rusher through 12 weeks. What's fascinating, though, and this is the heat of it all, for reference, Miles Sanders' current contract value is roughly $7.2 million a year, while Jacobs comes in at $12.4 million a year via Sport Track. That's kind of projecting what they could be worth in free agency. 7 versus 12, big jump. Philadelphia Eagles have notoriously undervalued running backs in the past. Tough to see them paying over $10 million annually for one in free agency. Not to mention, Bijan Robinson of Texas could be waiting for them in the draft, end quote. And this, of course, was written before the game this past weekend where he played very well against the Chargers. But really, the focus was that Seattle Seahawks overtime win when he had 229 yards. So let me just give you my thoughts on this really quick, and then we can move on because it's free agent work. I think Sanders is going to get a new deal from Philadelphia. I think he's going to take a fair offer. He's not going to ask for $10 million a year. He's going to ask for 7 or 8. And at 7 or 8, honestly, that's a pretty fair deal for a 1,000-yard running back. Now, Philadelphia will have the choice to draft a running back. And while I like Bijan Robinson, you love Bijan Robinson, we all would love him to be an Eagle and wear that midnight green. He's going to be one of those, first-round backs that goes too early. Probably the only first-round running back in the 2023 NFL draft. Therefore, I think Philadelphia is out. They have bigger needs. They need a pass rusher, maybe a cornerback if James Bradbury is not re-signed. You can look at a bunch of different positions that Philadelphia could add versus adding a running back. So what I would do is re-sign Miles Sanders, and then I would draft a back in the 3rd round or 4th round or 5th round, depending on what draft picks they end up having after they do some, draft day trades, which I'm sure Howie Roseman will go ahead and do. Not to say that I don't like Josh Jacobs. I think he's a better fit than Miles Sanders. Philadelphia kind of likes that idea of a Jordan Howard running back, a little bit more physical run between the tackles versus what you have right now in Miles Sanders, because then you could have Josh Jacobs be your every down back, a little more physical, and then Gainwell be kind of the Sanders role of being a little more of a screen guy, outside pass catcher, kind of juke and move and show a little bit of speed. And so it'd be a great combination versus where you have right now, which is Sanders and Gainwell, two running backs who are very, very similar. But at $12 million a year, if that's the price right now, and it probably will be because he is the leading rusher in the NFL, I would definitely have to go ahead and pass. And so you're going to see a lot of this stuff really ramp up after we get through December. A lot of the free agents stuff, a lot of the draft stuff. I think Philadelphia is going to do a lot of in-house cleaning up in terms of re-signing people, as many as they can, and then they'll let the rest walk, go to the draft, and try and just kind of retool the roster for another potential Super Bowl run in 2023. What do you guys think, though? I love Robinson, but you're not going to spend the 5th overall draft pick on Bijan Robinson, right? I mean, come on, it's just a little bit too ridiculous. Now, speaking of 5th overall draft pick, we're going to go early to our NFL national story of the day. As we always mix things up here, Philadelphia and the National Football League news, and also, we're giving my thoughts on what's going on. After the Saints' utter collapse last night, great news for Philadelphia, thumbs up for that. The Philadelphia Eagles are back inside the top 5, which your Tankathon website shows you here as the top 18 in the NFL draft. Houston will be the number 1 overall draft pick. It's very clear Houston will be the number 1 overall draft pick. They will take either C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. My guess would be C.J. Stroud, but it'll depend on what he looks like against Georgia in the national championship game. Chicago likely the 2, but that can change, right? And what's very fascinating here with the top 10 order is that Chicago, Denver, and the Rams are all 1 game away from New Orleans jumping them. And while the Saints are playing better football than the Denver Broncos, the LA Rams, and the Chicago Bears, as we'll see, their schedule's a little bit tougher, which leads me to believe this can go higher. The highest you can get right now is number 2 overall. There's no way Philadelphia ends up with the number 1 overall draft pick, but number 2 is a very real possibility, which could give you Will Anderson and instant pass rush success that would be, deadly for any team facing Philadelphia with your current defensive line. Adding in another pass rusher like Will Anderson, him and Sweat on the outside with Hassan Reddick would be unbelievably scary. Now, Carolina's been winning football games. That's good news for Philadelphia. The Jacksonville Jaguars won a couple. Arizona, I don't see Carolina, the Jags, Arizona, Indy, or Atlanta pole vaulting New Orleans, barring a big late run here from the New Orleans Saints. And the Raiders have been playing for good football, which is great news again for Philadelphia, because Las Vegas now is 5-7, giving them a big lead, at least a 2-game loss column lead over where the Saints are at and that Eagles pick. Now, Philadelphia's other pick right now would be 31, because there is no 24th overall draft pick, or Miami draft pick, if you will. But that, of course, can move up and down based on where Philadelphia is in, of course, the NFL standings at the end of the year. If they were to lose in the divisional round, it's somewhere between 25 and 28. Conference championship 29-30, and then of course the Super Bowl would be 30 or 31. It's kind of how it looks right now with the current draft stock. So this will be a top 10 draft pick for Philadelphia, but it's worth noting other NFL teams have a massive impact on where Philadelphia is going to land, and that number 2 pick could be a very real possibility. So to come back to Philadelphia here, you root for Chicago, you root for Denver, you root for the Rams, you root for Carolina to all win games. That makes their record better, which thereby gives Philadelphia a better chance at a higher draft pick. That is really good stuff. Now, Philadelphia by themselves needs to keep winning football games. They can do that this weekend against the Giants, and I read some reports on Twitter saying a lot of Eagle fans are going to be at MetLife Stadium on Sunday. It could be very heavy Eagle road crowd there as they travel well up the Philadelphia Turnpike there to the Meadowlands. If you guys want to bet on that game, you can do it with our friends. DraftKings, if you want to go ahead and bet $5 on the Eagles, you get $150 back if they win, and that is in free bets. It's a pretty good deal. If you see on your screen here, just use my link down below in the description box. Take you to GFM hosting website, and then you just place a $5 money line bet on the Eagles game. Get $150 back for new DraftKings users. That's $150 in addition to your winnings in free bets. Really good promo here. Go ahead and jump on that down below in the description box. All right, we're going to wrap up with some news and notes. I think this is a very fascinating article from Bleeding Green Nation that does matter for Eagle fans and I guess the rest of the NFL as well. I'm telling you, we do other stuff besides the National Football, or besides the Philadelphia Eagles here. Give you a strength of schedule for each remaining NFC team going into the finals home stretch here, and this is fascinating. So you see it from Tankathon here. It shows you which teams have a harder final schedule, teams have an easier final schedule, and the first, right off the bat, good news, these top 3 teams are all teams you want to basically lose, minus Chicago, but really, you want Seattle to lose, you want the Washington Commanders to lose, I mean, you want the Giants to lose because, look, the Giants have 2 against us, then they have the Vikings, and they have Washington and the Colts. Washington has Cowboys, they have the San Francisco 49ers, they have the Giants, and then they have an easier opponent in the Browns. Seattle, they have the Chiefs, they have the 49ers, they have the Jets, they have the Rams, and the Carolina Panthers. Dallas has us. They obviously are going to go and take on the Titans. We saw them headline on Sunday, but still, Washington, this idea that Dallas' schedule is super easy, it's easy the next 2 weeks because they have the Texans and the Jaguars, but then you have Philadelphia, you have the Titans, and Washington makes it a lot harder. Whereas Philadelphia has 2 against the Giants, which is going to be difficult, but I think Philadelphia's going to handle them this weekend. That big one on Christmas Eve, and then you have the Bears, who are definitely trying to lose, or at least, depending on what Justin Fields plays, and then the New Orleans Saints. Hope the draft pick out. So it gives you a good look at how much harder these games are for certain football teams, and how much easier they are based on opponents. And really the meat and potatoes of this is, if Philadelphia can win 4 of their next 5, they are guaranteed the number 1 seed. If they win 3 of their next 5, go 3-2 over the final 5-game stretch. It'll depend on who they beat, aka the Dallas Cowboy game, but they probably will be the number 1 seed, right? If Philadelphia wins on Christmas Eve, they have easily the NFC East, and they will have the number 1 seed. You just can't lose to the Giants here, beat Chicago, lose to the Cowboys here, and then lose to the Giants again in the final week of the year to go ahead and lock up the East in the number 1 seed. Now, Dallas, of course, has to win out in order to go ahead and really have a chance, barring a big collapse by Philadelphia. And again, we circled that Christmas Eve day game, which will be, really the game of the year for both football teams, determining who gets the number 1 seed and who wins the NFC East. All right, final storyline here quickly as we wrap up. Your Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee for Philadelphia is Brandon Graham. You see the Eagles Wire from USA Today article, and of course the Philadelphia Eagles tweet right here. He is the Walter Payton Man of the Year award nominee. 31 other players as well have been nominated for this. All of them will be highlighted and recognized leading up to the Super Bowl, and then it will be announced during the NFL Honors, a primetime award special the Thursday before the Super Bowl coming up on NBC, which is, a couple months away. It's coming quick. 5 weeks left in the NFL season. It's going to get really interesting over the next couple of weeks here, and we'll have you guys covered for all your NFL stuff as well as Philadelphia as well. All right, Sal Paolantonio tomorrow. Really excited to talk to him, see his thoughts as someone who's really inside that locker room a lot. A lot of Eagle coverage. It's going to be very fun to see what he has to say. Be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell as well, because I'll notify it, or YouTube would notify you guys whenever we drop the latest show, so stay tuned for that. I'm Thomas Mott. We'll see you guys in the next one.